All right, I Connect athletes. We're back at it again today on this cool Monday, I guess it is. Just got a couple coaches on board that we want to introduce for this third podcast. My name is Coach Jenkins. We also have another Coach Jenkins, but it's Coach Bruce Jenkins of BJ3 Sports and Fitness. We have Ernest Jenkins, and we have Mr. Mo Beasley, and we'll discuss who they are and give them a little feedback on, their time at the next level and their journey. But we just want to jump into a couple of things. Our title of this session is "Winning and Losing." Um, so we want to jump into that and just dive into some of the nuances of winning and also some characteristics of winning, and also the other side of it is we know we're going to have to lose in order to win. So we're going to jump into it. Uh, Welcome, Mo. Thank you for coming on. Coach
Thank you
Bruce,
for having me.
thank you for coming on. Coach Trey, thank you for coming back.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
Appreciate
Yes,
it.
yes,
sir. Yes,
sir.
sir. It's
Coach
gonna be a
Bruce,
good one.
can you just give a rundown of your resume in reference to your playing career, where you played at, and
Oh, sure,
give a little something.
sure, sure. So I started out in high school at Wilson High School. Played there for 2 years. Went to St. John's for a year. I had a bit of a journey in high school. Went to St. John's for a year. Played in WCAC, and my family moved out to Silver Spring, Maryland, where I played in Montgomery Blair. Graduated from there with a full scholarship, basketball scholarship to North Carolina A&T State University. Played there for 4 years. Was able to do well there. Averaged about, I would say, about 20 and 11 my senior year, where I was preseason player of the year. And from that point, I was able to sign a contract with Passing Lane Sports, and got my first contract to play in Belgium. Played in Belgium for a year. Did well there and played in Argentina, South America, Uruguay, and Finland, just to name a few places. So grew up in the DMV area. Went out to Silver Spring, went to North Carolina, and just took my talents and my gifts overseas. So that's my background.
It's good. Mr.
Yes,
Mo
sir.
Beasley, what you got for us?
Kind of similar background as Bruce. Originally DC guy, but parents split up. Mom's moved to Montgomery County, so I did Kennedy High School
Okay.
out Montgomery County. I started as a freshman. Only freshman in school history to start as a freshman or play as a
Wow.
ninth grader. But for back then that was unheard of for ninth graders to play varsity and
Wow.
Yeah,
start.
Yeah.
absolutely.
So I did
Man.
3 years at Kennedy, second all-time leading scorer in the school history. Um, and I still probably hold some of these records. Really, then in my senior year, I transferred to Anacostia, so I'm probably like one of the few people that back-to-back championships with took two different schools to different championships.
Good God.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
So
That's
Mm.
what's up.
um,
Yeah.
went to Anacostia where we ended up winning the whole thing. Got a scholarship. I was on the list as number one recruit point guard in the state of in the DMV area. So end up going out California. It didn't work out for me because we'd get into all that.
Okay.
Just didn't have the mindset yet. Was prepared for college.
Hmm.
So end up
Yeah.
end up leaving there, transferring to St. Augustine in Raleigh, North Carolina,
Right. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
which changed my life.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Gave me a different perspective on life and not just
Mm-hmm.
about basketball.
Yep.
So
Yep.
and took it from there. Went overseas, played, still wasn't ready mentally to be over there. So I lost a lot of good opportunities, just not having myself prepared.
Wow. That's good. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coach Trey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So I'm old school, 83 grad from yes, sir, 83 grad from Meade High School, Anne Arundel County. So I come out of Meade. So I played varsity 3 years at Meade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. And so my senior year, of course, I was all county, all metro, Baltimore area, metropolitan area, honorable mention. I left school and went to Wisconsin. And, at the time, like Mo said, man, I wasn't prepared, man, mentally. I wasn't ready for no transition basketball. I really wasn't a good student. I really took for granted the importance of being educated, having what you need foundationally to be able to make the transition to the next level. And so when I got to Menominee, Wisconsin, I never shall get it, cold as the dickens. But anyway, man, look, I wasn't ready. I just wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready mentally. And so, of course, if you're not ready mentally, you ain't going to be ready any other way, because it all started at the top, at the head. So it just put me in a position where I was there for one semester. I transferred after one semester, went to Norfolk State University, met my wife, and that's all she wrote. So I coached ever since. Yeah, I mean, but that's the name of the game. So, for me, as I said before, I want to give folks an opportunity to understand that you cannot take for granted opportunities that are in front of you that God bless you with, man. Right. And when you have it, the more you understand, the quicker you understand that education is key. Slim, foundationally, that'll take you, man. But that's my thing. Yeah, no doubt about it.
That's good. Well,
yeah.
Let's jump on into these questions that I got for you, for all three of you. This first question: what makes the difference between a winner and a loser? And we can talk about the athlete perspective. We can talk about from a coaching perspective. What separates, and what do I need to look for, and what are some characteristics of being consistent as a winner, and also what are the reasons why I might have lost? Coach Trey, can you jump in?
Yeah, absolutely. So my philosophy is this here. Now we're gonna talk individually for a second, then I'll jump to the team concept. But
go ahead.
But a winner is someone who will not quit, regardless of the outcome. They're not gonna quit. They're gonna keep playing. They're gonna keep competing, regardless how much you up or down. They're gonna keep giving you what they have. A loser is someone that when they see tough times, they want to take their ball and go home. They want to go sit down. They don't want to compete. If adversity comes, they ain't built for it. They ain't ready. They don't want to be a part of it. So my rationale, or my definition between a winner and a loser, is someone who will persevere under extreme circumstances, regardless of what it is. They're going to keep giving you what they have, will continue to compete. And that goes and is applicable across life. It don't matter.
Yes, sir.
You're going to keep working regardless of the situation.
That's good. That's good. Or do you wanted to add something in reference to team?
Oh, and as a team now, the team is only as good as the weakest link. So if the weakest link is if you're allowing that weakest link to have those characteristics that I just explained, then the whole team's a loser. In other words, you got to be accountable to one another in order to be able to be successful. You can't allow the weakest person to hold you down and keep you from being able to get where you got to go. That's just all there's to it. Everybody in it together. And if you don't have that mentality, you can't be successful.
That's good. That's good. Coach Mo, what you got? What you got on that topic?
I'll piggyback off of Trey. Individually, as winners, it's a mentality to have.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have that mentality to say, I'm in a fight for the long haul. Like, there's nothing that's going to deter me from, if it's in sports or if it's in personal life. You got to constantly keep going. My father used to tell me a long time ago, when I used to play ball, he used to say, pressure bust pipes.
Yes, sir.
There it is. Good God
So
Almighty.
if you can't stand the pressure, then you're gonna melt.
Yep.
And I'm always I'm a big proponent about that, man. It's something, and I'm really big on, you can't develop the winning. You gotta already have that dog. You gotta already have that in you. You gotta already know, and it starts from when you're young. You develop these things. You know that I'm not gonna settle for less. I'm not gonna settle for nothing. I could be, and we go back to the basketball. I could be down 30, but I'm still gonna play like the game is tied.
Yeah.
And as far as like coaching in the team aspect,
Good.
you're only as good as you prepare. So I always say the greatest coaches, you don't never see them yelling in the game because they already prepared the team in practice.
Uh-oh. So okay, my bad. Thank you. Keep going.
Yeah, so I'm a big proponent.
I need to
I'm
write
really
that
big
down,
on
bro.
that. I'm really big on that. So in practice, that's when you do all your yelling. You tell somebody, you do whatever you need to do in practice. So when it's showtime, the hard work was already put in. So you sitting back and you watching what you already put in practice to transform into the games. So all your hard work is done in practice. So the games are easy.
That's good. Okay. I'm coming back to you because I gotta, you just challenged me.
That's a good one. Yeah.
What you got?
So I want to come from a coaches, trainers, and players perspective.
Go ahead.
And my biggest thing about being a winner is it starts way before you get on the court. And Mo touched on that a little bit. From a training perspective, training kids, I can always tell a winner by the way he walks in the gym, what time he comes in the gym, the way he looks, the way he prepares to work out. Is he lollygagging? Is he like what is his body language like? How does he communicate? Does he introduce himself? All of these things tell me before we even hit the floor to start training and stretching and warming up, this kid is a winner. So that's from the training perspective. When it comes from a player's perspective and a coaching perspective, you can always tell your winners by the way they are on the bus, by the way they are on practice. Some guys, they're joking and laughing. Some guys they got the music on, but some guys, majority of guys that are winners, they locked in. You can see it on their face. They're thinking about their assignments. They're thinking about how they're supposed to contribute to the team. All of these things I look at before they even hit the court. I remember when I was playing and we played against Duke. Mo can tell you about this. I can tell. I remember like it was yesterday. I could look into the eyes of my teammates and tell who was ready to play and who was ready to win. You can see it in their face. Now, nerves are going to be nerves, but when you look into a guy's eyes, you can tell that person is a winner. So it's just the small intangible things that you can see and you can notice before you even touch the court from a training perspective, coaches and a player's perspective. It's not what you do on the court so much, but it's how you prepare, how you approach the game. Yep. So that's the biggest thing I can say about being a winner.
That's good. Let me have a little side question with that question that I just asked. Can you teach this skill? Does this? I heard a couple of y'all say that you can recognize a winner, or you see a winner when it's coming or when you have it. But do you have to teach it? Do you have to teach that skill, or can it be taught?
I believe it can't be taught. I could be wrong, but just my opinion. You either have it in you. Now you can always, and I don't know if this is contradicting, but you can always, as you get older, learn certain things, the maneuver way that to help you better, I guess your skills. But from the beginning, I feel like you gotta have that dog in. Because if you don't have that dog in you, once adversity hits, if you don't have that in you, you're gonna revert back to what you know. And that's why you always hear, like, you always see people revert back to what they know. So when times get tough, if you don't have that dog in, you're gonna fold. I believe that.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, and I tell you, I think Mo, he hits on a good point there because we talked about this in one of our previous sessions, and I think having a dog is an intangible. I mean, they come a dime a dozen, baby. If you got one, if you got more than one, you blessed because they don't come every now. They come down hard in between. You know what I mean? They ain't just all around there like that. They picking easy to get. They are rare. But I will say this: I believe with proper time and training,
Okay.
you can mold people. You can train them to be what you want them to be. Now the question becomes whether or not they are able to sustain what you are actually requesting from them. That's when that dog come out, whether or not you really got it in you. Are you really able to cut the mustard with what I got for you? That'll tell me whether or not you really want this or not. Because a lot of times it's what separates, as they say, the chaff from the wheat.
Yeah.
The good from the bad. The ones that you want to keep, the ones you want to let go, is when you put them in that fire. Will they come through? Are they gonna stick in?
That's a good point right there. I remember my freshman year, right? We had all these dudes who I call them lunchroom ballers. You know them, Bruce. Everybody know them. Then at lunchtime, oh man, they the best to do it. They the best to do it, man. So I rest in peace to Mr. DeStefano, man. He was my first coach at Kennedy. Ended up going up St. John's. Remember DeStefano, Bruce?
Yeah. He coached me at St. John's.
Yeah, he was my coach at Kennedy. I had him for 2 years. No, I had him my freshman, sophomore year, and then my junior year, he left to go to St. John's. So we first practice. You know how it is. Everybody excited for practice, high school, everybody trying out. So all these lunchroom ballers, everybody in there. DeStefano said, first 3 days, we ain't touching the basketball. We just running. He just want to test everybody mental to see if they got it or not. Man, he took us out on that track and we ran. We ran at least an hour. We did steps. We did hills. And then he put a trash. We came back in the gym. We ran suicides. Man, I swear, 85% of them dudes who were saying they was ballers, man, they threw up in the trash room, in the trash bag, in the big trash bin and kept going, walk out the door.
That's it.
So that goes back to the mentality that we talked about.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that was, and I'm gonna ask Coach Bruce, and also we got Mr. Eric Branham on. Welcome, sir.
All right.
Appreciate you coming on. That's why I asked, the winning aspect. Can you create that? And because I think young coaches believe that, what I'm saying, if I don't have these dogs, I'll get rid of, until I find some dogs. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you might not even get a dog. But how can you create that atmosphere in your program? And Coach Bruce, can you touch on that piece in reference to how can you create the atmosphere in your program of winning? Yeah, Coach Mo just spoke on a little bit of it and what his experience was. Can you elaborate on that?
So how do you create the atmosphere for winning?
Yes, sir.
So creating the atmosphere for winning, like I said earlier, starts way before practice starts. Creating an atmosphere for a good practice, let's say, for instance, that starts with the coaches meeting. That starts with the practice plan when we talked about in the last podcast. All those different things, all of the different assignments that the coaches have, all of the reaching out to the players, all of the talking to the parents and creating the systems and creating how will your first huddle look and what your message is for the first practice. All of those things come into play when you talk about creating a culture of winning. It has to be excellence from the jump. The coaches got to look the par. Everybody's got to be on time. The energy has got the tone and the energy has to be set. All of those different things create a good culture when it comes to having a good winning program. So you gotta create those things way in advance before your first practice or your first training session in preseason. You got to set those expectations before those things start. And we always talk about effective communication and advanced preparation. Those things have to be in place to create that culture. So that's what what the winning culture looks like.
That's good. Before I ask Eric his view on this, Coach Trey, you said the last man.
Yeah,
In reference to the end of your 12th man or your
absolutely.
what is that? What do you? Does my 12th man have to be
See, now
as
let me
good as my
say
first?
this. Well, let me just be clear about something. Now, see, sometimes again, depending on what you're looking to do, what your objective is, your 12th man may just be a player that's just there to be a part of the team, but don't get no burn on the floor. He just is there for the camaraderie, to be there, to be around the guys, things of that nature. But he not touching the floor. I'm talking about more so folks that you know that's going to be in your rotation. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about rotation on that floor. In other words, if they can't do it, you know they ain't in the rotation. You get in when you're up 25 and a 2 minutes left. I mean, come on, then you can get in and do what you got to do. But I'm just saying, I'm not counting that play. I'm counting the cat in the rotation. Because I'm just saying,
you weren't gonna count me, huh?
No, I mean, come on, I'm just being real. I mean, I'm saying you're part of the team and you want to be a part. You know, because again, what you have to understand is Bruce just described something that's about having or creating a product. You know, one of the things that people got to understand that this thing about coaching really, if you really maximize the opportunity, it's like a business. It is a business. And again, you want to make sure that when you are on the floor, if you run a program, that your product is well represented. When people see what you have on the floor, how your players handle themselves on and off the floor, how you handle yourself, the things you do, that you're selling your product, your program. And it's all about making sure that your product maximizes its potential.
That's good.
Right.
Why? Because it's value added. You want to give something of value. That's what you're doing when you're putting that work out there on that floor and you have discipline, structure, etc., as Bruce explained. That's the name of the game.
Yeah.
You look at any major program out there that's really consistently always at the top. Look at the product.
Look at the product.
Yeah, that's a good point right there. Because I know, like for me, when I was growing up, I played for some. I can honestly say I was taught the game early and how to compete, how to be disciplined. Because I played for my father, which is well known, Tony Langley. He showed me the work ethic early, and then once he saw that my skills was developing, he said, "Now I'm going to take you down to the city." And I played for amazing man Ed Hill in the city. They call him Huck.
Wow.
And number 10 Boys Club. And before we even played ball, he taught us. We used to live by the saying, and I still remember. And I'm 42 years old. And I still remember it when we was just playing 10 and 9. We used to go patient, discipline, teamwork, defense, DC pride.
That's good
That's
stuff.
what we stood for.
That's it.
So from that, my father used to say, "Do you want to be good or do you want to be great?"
Wow.
And that was his thing. Do you want to be good and do you want to be great? And that goes from the best man on the court to the last man on the bench. because the last man on the bench supposed to, if he's not getting minutes, that's when we go back to when we talk about the dog. If he's not getting minutes, then he needs to be in practice every day, going 100 miles an hour.
That's good.
Saying, man, how do I get better? How do I get better? I need to compete. I need to push the rest of the players. I give you a story that I turn it over. My freshman year, I'm excited, man. I'm excited because let's go back. I was going to Colonel E. Brookley Middle School. So, you know, like high school, my 8th grade year, school was still in, but I still had clearance to leave. So I used to leave school like last period. I got to leave last period to go to Kennedy. So technically I was in the 8th grade. They used to have the Yes League. It was the Reebok League. It used to be at High Point High School.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I'm in
sir.
8th grade. I'm not even graduated yet. I'm in 8th grade, starting on varsity. Now the team was good. Our team was good, but they was missing a point guard. And Mr. DeStefano threw me in. He said, "That's the only way you're gonna learn." He threw me in. So I'm in 8th grade playing against Kelly Taylor. And when we talk about ball, Kelly Taylor was one of the best to do it. Carroll High School. These all had the Mathers in there. These all top teams, and I'm in the 8th grade playing. But he threw me to the wolves. He like, now we're gonna see how good. It's easy to be the best man, the best player in your neighborhood, the best player in your middle school. But then when you there with everybody that's good, then that's when you can determine how good you really are.
That's good. This was good. Let's go to the second one. Let's go to the second question. What are the benefits of losing? Can y'all find anything in losing that can benefit us? I mean, most players that I play, they can't. You know, they don't see any. You can't find any positive in losing. Can you tell me some? If you got an example or a story,
I got plenty
of the benefits of losing.
Attention. I say one thing.
What you got?
Attention to detail. Attention to detail. See, one of the things you got to understand, and I know it's further down, as a matter of fact, it's your next question after that, but attention to detail is very critical. And what happens sometimes is that you may be in a tight game, you don't have very many timeouts, you're trying to draft 2 plays in advance so that when you get ready to be in a position to use your last timeout, you save it for when it's most critical. So when you implement things you want them to regurgitate, when it's time to do it on the floor, you draw 2 things up in the timeout. You tell them what to do. The next thing they do when they go out there, they forget everything you said and they end up losing.
Yep.
Attention to detail. It happens all the time.
And if
they basket, full court press, man to man. We down. We need another stop.
And
make the basket.
Are you saying they would not have listened or would not have had that attention to detail without losing that game?
If you paid attention to the detail, we're in position to win. But because you can't remember what we're giving you, you then miss the point of the instruction during timeout.
That's good.
So you lose. I'm just saying, and I use that example, but the bottom line is attention to detail is really what I wanted to raise, is being able to pay attention to the instructions that I give you.
Got you. Eric, what you got, man? You got any benefits of losing?
I mean, to me, when you're in your journey, whatever sport you may be in, I think the quality of losing is just as important as the quality of winning.
Yes,
and
sir.
Sometimes winning can hinder your progression.
That's good.
It really can. Losing will allow you to not just examine yourself, but examine the situation of saying, what could I have done better? what I got to do better. It's an approach. And nowadays it's harder because the approach to the game is different. Like he was saying, kids not paying attention, thinking it's just we got to score or get the ball. And it doesn't work that way. You know, you got to do the necessary steps to get to that point, to make a steal. You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
To play full court and trap a guy and get the steal and win the game. But a lot of times I think the approach to losing now is viewed different. I think a lot of people retreat in their losing instead of saying embracing what is going on, because you're never going to get to the point that you should be if you don't take on all the necessary things that come at you. And that comes along with losing, winning. So in a lot of times it could play Dr. Jekyll and Hyde in certain kids' journey. You get what I'm saying?
That's good.
Losing is very important though. It'll pull something out you that you never know was there.
Yes, sir.
There's no doubt about it. I agree.
That's so true. That's good. Coach Bruce, what you got, man? That was good.
So I definitely want to piggyback on what Eric said. And basically, losing highlights the bad apples. Losing highlights the bad apples. So you might have a parent that's in the stands in your program, and he's heckling you, and he's cursing the referee out, or he's talking to the kid and not letting you coach, or you might have a situation where you lost a game and the kid comes late to practice next time and he's not going hard. Losing highlights all those things. Now, winning, everybody's happy. Everything's going well. You're winning the games. You're having a good season. So everybody's getting along. Everything's good. But when you're losing, now you're starting to see who you need to keep, who you don't need to keep. What type of things that you need to work on with communication with your coaches. All those things happen when you lose games. Now, we're not saying that we love to lose games, but losing is a part of the process. And we talked about having a program on the last episode. Losing is all a part of having a program.
Absolutely.
Every program that you look at that has ever won championship after championship, they started off with losing.
Yep.
And it's a perfect question right after the legacy thing that we just saw with Michael Jordan. His whole process, it just wasn't all winning. It was winning and losing, ups and downs.
Yep.
But in the end, he learned from his mistakes. He learned what players he can depend on. Speaking of people like Steve Kerr, he learned that he could depend on that guy. He learned to depend on Dennis Rodman, all these different guys. But he couldn't have learned that without the losing and the ups and downs. So losing is all part of the process, and it highlights the bad apples.
You definitely got to go through it, man.
And that's what's
and
even so
go
now
ahead.
we're glorified the point of not knowing losing is part of the process. We got to stop singling it out because it's a part of it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Are you talking?
Yeah.
Are you talking about when you reference to that? Are you talking about in leadership in reference to, in many ways, the coaches?
Yeah.
Are we glorifying winning over teaching losing?
No, I wouldn't just say the coaches. I just say the culture, period.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Where we are now
Right.
in basketball culture, a lot of things that have been taken out of the picture, it's part of the picture. And guess what happens to the generations coming? They haven't focused on that part to say, why is this happening? Per se, like Bruce was saying, even from the player's point of view, how you lose or whatever, the coaches take an approach to say, what can I do? What can I do with this player to make him get in a place of saying, you got to do this, you got to do that. It's all a one big camaraderie. It's never like one or two. It's everybody. And once everybody get in that focus thing, Bruce, the same thing, Phil Jackson, his whole thing was focusing on the moment. Look, y'all, as a team, not as individual players, as a team.
Yeah.
So I just think it's all around the board. And it's the biggest on the coach's job because the coach got to continue to reinforce. Trainers, coaches got to continue to reinforce the important things that go along in this journey.
Yes, sir.
Important things that can't be taken out.
That's good.
And
That's good.
That's good right there. So all I can just give you is just off my experiences, right? So my junior year, right? Like we was talking about earlier. My freshman year. Can you hear me?
We hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my freshman year and my sophomore year, we had DeStefano. So going into my junior year, DeStefano left for St. John's. So we ended up acquiring a guy named La Quinte.
Yes, sir.
We started the season off 0-6. We was 0-6. So everybody started to adopt that mentality, like, yo, every game we going in, we gonna get blown out.
Wow.
And I was like, nah, that's that. I don't know how to do that. That's not what I do. So the coach started having a mentality that we're gonna lose. He like, let's chalk this season up. And I'm like, huh? This ain't what I do it for. So we had one of those players only meeting, and I just lit into everybody. I said, man, the people that want to play, y'all that want to play, we gonna ride this out. And the ones that's here just for the girls and just to take the pictures to say I was on the varsity basketball, y'all can go. Cause I said from now this point on, I never forget. I said from this point on, we ain't losing another game, man.
Wow.
So we end up playing.
What year was that?
That was my junior year.
Okay.
The next game, we played Walter Johnson. We went to Walter Johnson. We beat Walter Johnson, and that just started our domino effect, man. And it go back to what we was talking about dogs. I had one dog on that team, man.
Chris, just in front of you, not through your legs.
Yeah, I had one dog on the team, man. It's a dude named Taiwan Campbell. But me and Taiwan knew each other from back the number 10 days. So he was there. Taiwan said, look, Ty, this team is not gonna go. We're not gonna go. We only gonna go as far as we take them. We juniors, so let's lead. So he was like, I'm with you. And then from that point on, we went on a run, man. And that junior year, we started the season off 0-6, and then we finished the season losing to Baltimore Dunbar in the state championship by 6 points.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's good.
And then that coach, La Quinte, went from 0-6 in the beginning of the year to being coach of the year in the county that junior year.
So that was, in many ways, you saying you shifted that perspective. It really didn't come from leadership.
100%, because I was the as they say, the elder statesman as a junior.
Okay.
But everybody looked up to me because I played as a freshman. So give you a little, and I don't want to get off topic, but give you a little bit. By freshman year, we started. This is what you say about it goes back into what we was talking about. So my freshman year, we getting ready for Springbrook, and everybody knows Springbrook and Kennedy. That's our rivalry.
Yep. Just
like Springbrook and Blair is the rivalry. So we got Springbrook the first game of the season. So now I'm the hype. I'm the freshman. Everybody like, yo, it's a nice freshman at Kennedy. I'm playing against Treon Ridges, Shaquille Brew. That's their backcourt. So we in practice back then. We practiced with the JV. So we scrimmaging JV. Mr. DeStefano say, y'all ain't playing right. So he kick us out the gym. Like, y'all get out. He throw us out the gym. So we down in the locker room like, nah, we ain't going like that. We play tomorrow. Let's go hard. So we go back. We go back, play the JV. We dogging JV. Towards the end of practice, one of the guys was going in for a layup. I went to block his shot. And then back there, I was only 160 pounds soaking wet. So I blocked the shot, but the momentum of me hitting the backboard sent me back. And I tried to break my fall. And I shattered my wrist and my elbow. So I missed all my freshman year. I missed all the way up to Christmas tournament. That's when I came back. So I did that. And then my sophomore year, and we'll get into that. So my sophomore year, we undefeated. We have arguably probably one of the best scores to ever come out of this Montgomery County. And I put him up there in this area. A dude named Antoine Wills. We call him Lumpy. Dude was averaging 28, 30s. He was getting 40s on boxing ones, everything.
Wow.
So Kennedy, since '89, they ain't been ranked. We run. So we go run the table. We 12-0. We beat Springbrook. We beat everybody. So my father was about the discipline, like we talked about. I had a D on my report card. He took me off the team. We was 14-0, and he took me off the team. So I missed my sophomore year. I missed the second half of my sophomore year as we was undefeated.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So then going into my junior year, I was the only guy left that was on varsity. And then that's when we started the season off 0-6. And then the history ran off, went to the playoffs. And then we'd get into the playoff run, and I'd say, because it was crazy stories there. And that's just that. But that goes back to what we talked about the discipline, knowing what you're here for. It's not just it's not just about basketball. We'll get into it deep more and more into it. But I went to ABCD camp, and Chauncey Billups was my counselor, right? So every day I had to ride with Chauncey Billups on the bus because it was in Jersey, Patterson, New Jersey. That's where ABCD camp was at. Chauncey Billups was my counselor. So he used to always have a basketball with him. And I used to be like, man, why you got this basketball? So he held the basketball up like this. He said, you see this round thing right here? And I'm like, yeah. He said, man, if you use it right, this thing will take you all the way around the world. And that always stood with me. It always stood with me, man.
That's good. That's good. That's a good story.
Yeah.
That's a good story. Let's go to that third question. Since you jumped into that academics piece, which is perfect. That's the question we got. How does academics play a part on the court? A lot of players don't think it. They both go hand in hand.
Mo ain't go to class, man.
Oh,
that's everything.
This is a perfect question because I don't think me and
Mo, you went to
either.
class at Anacostia, man.
Man, statute of limitation over with.
Nah, I'm just joking.
Go ahead,
Mo.
with the academics, that I believe that's the major part of everything. The academics is more important than the skill set. Because if you ain't got the academics, man, you can't even get in school.
Yep.
So back in the day when I was coming up, if you didn't have the scores, there was no prep schools. You was Prop 48. That's what it was called. It wasn't a prep school.
No doubt about it.
You remember that, Trey?
I remember.
So Absolutely. You had the Prop 48. There was no scores. So I had to get it. And my thing is I lost the discipline when I went to Anacostia. So when I was at Kennedy, it was more structure for me. Like I had to go to school. I had to be in class because that was just what you did. And I give you a short and I let everybody else take it, man. This is how back then the academics was so different. I was at Kennedy my junior year. People don't know this, that my senior year, I still was going to Kennedy. I transferred into Anacostia a week before the season started.
Okay.
I just got, because I'm coming off of the state championship my junior year. So I'm riding this high wave. I'm going into my senior year. I just came from ABCD camp. I'm arguably top ranked guards in the area. I had my top 5 recruits that was on me heavy was Clemson, Georgetown, Virginia Tech, Miami, and Florida State. Those were the schools that I was like, that was really cornering me really, really hard.
Wow.
So I thought I had it made, man. So I would go to class and La Quinte, I had La Quinte for Spanish. So every day I would come to class, he would stop the class right when I walk in the door, be like, everybody stop, y'all. The All-American just walked in. So I'm like, man, this is my senior year. I don't want to be going through this. I don't want to be doing this. Like he's like, his head got so big because he was coach of the year, first year coaching. So, but knowing now that I'm older, all he was doing was pushing me. So we'll be in workouts. We'll go for our run like we always do. I make it there. He'll stop me. He get in front of everybody, and he'll be like, You lagging. You ain't gonna even start this year. I'm gonna have a freshman start over you. It was a dude named Musa. He was like, I'm gonna have Musa start over you. But I felt like he was coming at me. You know, I felt it as a disrespect thing. So every time I would come in his class, he would say, "Oh, the All-American is here." So it was just putting attention on me. So I said, you know what? I ain't going through this my senior year. I took it upon myself to transfer myself out of school. I took my papers out. So for like a week, I didn't have no school to go to. I was sitting home for a whole week my senior year. So my schools that I was going to go to my senior year was I was going to go to Largo. This one Largo had Kevin Robinson, and Lou was the coach. So I'm talking to Lou. I'm like, man, okay. So we trying to figure that out. Then I was going to go to TC Williams because on my AAU team, they had one of the best shooters that probably people don't even mention. It was a dude that went to Pitt, but he tore his ACL. It was a dude named John Fenderman.
Wow.
Dude could flat out shoot it. So he was at TC Williams. I was going to go to TC Williams, but I was like, man, I live out here. It's too far. So then Steve, I forgot the coach name, Steve, whatever, as Oak Hill, he called me. He was like, yo, you need to come up Oak Hill. So I took a visit up Oak Hill, me and my father, Tony. I found out it was an all-boys school, and I was like, no, I'm not going there. So then I called Bruce. I said, Bruce, let's do it. I said, I'm going to Blair. Because Blair, I grew up, that's my area.
Right.
Everybody know me there. So me and Bruce was like, let's team up, let's do it. I'm at Blair. I think I was at Blair for what, a couple of days? And then La Quinte said, if you go to Blair, I'm going to call Montgomery County and tell them that you don't stay in the area and we're going to protest against you. So I was like, I can't go to Blair. So then I end up going to Anacostia. Well, I wanted to go to Cardozo because that was my neighborhood. We grew up. That's why I wanted to play for Cardozo and play around with my childhood friends. That was my goal. But then I told a friend of mine, we remain nameless. I told a friend of mine to talk to the coach, and he never talked to the coach. He said the coach didn't want me. So that was that. So then I end up getting to Anacostia because Hargrove, I used to play for his son, Kevin Hargrove, AAU. So Lonnie, but this is what people don't understand. Lonnie didn't have a school. Me and Lonnie was sitting out our senior year for like 2 weeks with no school because Lonnie went to Richard Montgomery. And I had Lonnie going into my senior year. Lonnie was on my summer league team at Kennedy because I had Lonnie transferring into Kennedy. So we played the whole summer. Remember the High Point League? We playing in the High Point League. We make it all the way to the championship game of the High Point League against the Mac. This one they had Bogus, Forte, and all them. So but before that we had beat Curl, and that's when Curl was loaded. So I got Lonnie coming to Kennedy for my senior year. La Quinte tells Lonnie, I don't want you to come to Kennedy because you're too soft. So Lonnie don't have a school. Me or Lonnie don't have a school, but both of us playing for Kevin. So Kevin say, man, y'all just need to come to Anacostia with me. Dude, and we just end up going to Anacostia, man. That's how we end up at Anna.
Hey, Bruce.
Crazy story.
Bruce. You hear this, Bruce?
Yeah.
How was he able to play if he transferred in at the time he transferred? Statute of limitation, Bruce. He lucky, right?
Wow. Hey, it all comes out in the wash.
But this, like, to be honest, man, in a real sense, for us, basketball is not the hard part. Consuming it, becoming better, work ethic. The part is balancing out off the court. And academics is something, it's not about the schoolwork. It's about if you're able to go to school, get grades, do what you're supposed to do, guess what? Remembering a play, understanding playbooks, listening to the coach, all these things acquire on the court. See, people use it just say academics. Nah, it's life skills. I never had a problem with school. School was easy. Like, honestly, school was easy for me. But as I begin to grow older, how IQ of the game became such a place, I was like, I don't see what everybody else see.
Okay.
I started to really figure that out. But academics is a part to say it's life. It ain't, you can't even the scale out if you doing one and not the other. Life don't work like that. Life don't. If you're a good person, every area in your life gonna show that. It's not gonna show in this area and something else showing that area. It doesn't happen that way. You are what you are. People always say, man, I don't know. You always gonna know somebody by how their life is well-rounded. That's how you see people. That's how you see players. A lot of things play out that way. Academics is a point of saying you're not going to be able to do this without that. It don't work that way. Life don't. Because let's look at the people who was pushed through school, who was given grades. They end up quitting.
That's good.
Not being the hoopla and the hype. Not living up to it. All these things play out. If you go back, it'll play out because you have to face life skills at some point of your career. Let's say you become a pro, reading, understanding things, math, all like what?
Right.
Life skills, man. It ain't just academics, it's life skills. It will not work without the other, man. Listening, remembering, play. That's little stuff.
Right.
Understanding people, your teammates, everything, making adjustments. Not just on the court, off the court. Your life is going to cause you to do this. It's not no straight and narrow. Nah, it don't go that way. You can be all over the place, and you got to make adjustments.
See, a lot of times people, they take, it's the shortcuts, E, because I'm a piggyback off of that. Because when I went to Anacostia, I was at Kennedy. I had to do the work. So when I transferred to Anacostia, Kennedy was an academic school. People don't know that. Like Blair, all those are magnet schools.
They in good areas, Mo. They in good areas.
So I had to do the work. But when I got to Anacostia, they more focused on basketball than academics. There was no test books. This was back in the day. So you got to think this is 97. So when I was at Kennedy in my senior year, I had to finish the whole school year to graduate. When I had took my credits from Kennedy and transferred to Anacostia my senior year, I had already met the requirements to graduate.
Already.
That's why I wasn't going to class, but it hindered me in the long run because I learned those bad habits. Those were bad habits that I picked up. I should have just picked up some classes and just continue learning, because they say iron sharpens iron.
Yes, sir.
So I should just stay in there doing my schoolwork. But I was like, man, I don't need it. I already got a half a day schedule. So I was coming to school at 2:00. School let out at 3. Every day I would come to school at 2:30.
Let's take this in consideration as for me, even though thank God I'm able to still play after all these years and still, have fun and enjoy the game. I've came to the conclusion, on the court is my sanctuary. Like that's why a lot of us played. It takes us away from a lot of things. But if you really look at it, knowledge is endless. Basketball is endless. You never stop learning. That's why it goes hand in hand. Think about it. You can never know too much. You can never acquire too much. Basketball the same way. It's me playing today. I still see things and learn things playing the game.
Yes, sir.
It's endless. It's bottomless, man.
Unbelievable.
There is no knowing.
I'm glad. I'm glad you said that, because when I was at A&T, when we played Norfolk State, I gave a lot of lessons to trade school, Norfolk State. So that goes hand in hand in what we're saying, man.
It's plentiful.
We used to beat up on them all the time. So it's applicable to what you're saying.
We're not gonna say anything else about that's fine. It's cool.
Hey, Trey, that's why you could answer, what were the benefits of losing?
Absolutely.
Hey, Mo, I gave a lot of lessons, Mo.
Remember, I was rooting for you when you played Norfolk.
We were there.
That's right.
Hey, Bruce.
As you should.
Hey, Bruce. Look,
Yeah.
I wanted to go to Georgetown so bad, right? But everybody thought it was because of AI and the whole thing. I remember when they used to recruit me, right? Steve Edgers, I always say his name wrong. Steve, I forgot the code. That's who used. That was my recruiter. He's
before JT3, right?
Yeah, he used to come to my house.
Yeah,
he used to come to my house. He used to come to all my games. But every time he would send me a letter, right? You know, he would send me a deflated basketball, and I'd be like, man, what is dude doing? What is this? He was like, man. I said, what do the deflated basketball? He said, man, because at the end of the day, the air gonna come out of the ball. And you go and what are you going to do with the rest of your life?
There it is.
That's good stuff.
And
that's when he was recruiting you. Wow.
Yeah, and this one he was recruiting me now.
That's good.
He never taught. He just kept saying the air is going to come out. To this day, Bruce, I still have all my letters. I have every single letter a college coach sent. I have all of them. So I used to always look at that, and every time used to be an envelope with a deflated basketball in front of it. And then he always used to, in the letter, he always used to say, what are you going to do after when the air is out of the ball? That was the starting line in every letter. That's what he used to always say.
Wow. Coach Trey, I didn't hear from you. What you got on that topic?
Reinvent yourself.
Well, I'm telling you, I'm a firm believer that basketball is another class. Just like math and reading and science and social studies, that basketball court is another class. It's an extension of your classwork. You learn a whole nother game, whole nother vocabulary. And so again, the thing is what happens, and one of the reasons that I see the correlation is that it helps if you are able to do the academic schoolwork. Then when you come to the basketball floor or the football field or whatever sport it is, when you are taught something, it's easier for you to retain. So what happens a lot of times is that when we start, and that's why I always want to make sure the kids understand, look, man, just like you study your English and you study your math, you got to go home and study them plays. You got to study exactly what it is that we're trying to teach you when it comes to an offense or when it comes to a defense. What is your assignment? But you can't just know your assignment. You got to know everybody else's assignment.
Exactly.
Because that's how you're able to hold one another.
There you go, right there.
Accountable.
That's good.
It's all about accountability. And all I'm saying is academically, you have to remember the name of it is student athlete. It's not athlete student. They don't give athlete student scholarships. They give student athlete scholarships. So you got to make sure that you have the academic component in order to be able to position yourself to receive what they have to offer. Now, again, as Mo said, they flipped the script. But when I was coming up, there wasn't none of all this SAT score you need to have to get into school. If you could do it and you had the basic grade point average, which was a 2.0, you could get in school.
Wow.
But what happened was, if they saw too many African American folks like you and I,
that's right. That's
who
why
were able to take advantage of the sport and become millionaires, and they say, wait a minute.
Bingo.
Wait a minute. We got to find a way to be able to balance this, because if you remember now, y'all probably don't remember because I'm a little bit older than y'all, but I'm telling you now, if you look at the sport, it was predominantly a African American sport.
Yes, sir.
Period. And again, you had a sprinkle here, sprinkle there. But that was the whole mindset about them changing how they had the system set up to be able to give other people more opportunity to be able to compete. And so at the end of the day, the bottom line is you got to get the education though, for real.
All right, we gotta move. Hold on, we gotta move to the next one.
We know why they did it. I mean, any sport all across it don't matter what sport it is. We're going to dominate it. We're dominating.
No doubt about it.
Because our actual, it's no question about that.
Yep.
Yes, they said that SAT. Yes, they did all that for those reasons and those reasons. But at the same time, we're failing. We're failing the kids. If a kid goes to Alabama on a football scholarship and got NFL teams watching, and he can't even read,
ain't no good.
Good.
How many times he's been failed though in his life? How many teachers failed him? Principals, guidance counselors, all the way up until that point. Because that's what I look at too. You get what I'm saying?
It's real. Absolutely.
It's a thing to say we can't approach academics saying we got to do this because of basketball. We got to do this just to better ourselves. It has to be this way. It has to. Because when you have a better understanding, not just of academics, of bettering yourself, then you're not ignorant. You don't carry yourself in such a way that only your environment conducive to you.
No doubt about it.
Mean mugging people, ready to fight people. Those things come from ignorance, not knowing.
That's good.
Yep.
A shallow mindset, a shallow environment. Because let's be real, all of us come from crazy chaos environments. Majority of us do. Yep. They're still trying to figure out how we making that out of there and becoming millionaires. It's still a mystery. With PSTD, with ADD, with all these things they diagnosed us with, and we're still doing the ultimate. It takes a lot.
Bingo.
It really does.
That's good.
Yeah,
not the pressure the academics part, but it's a part that's needed for us, not to show them I need to do this because of that. Just because it's just us. And it's valuable. It's valuable. It's valuable.
That's good.
Go ahead, Coach.
Coach Bruce, can you ask this question? We're going into the next question. What's the difference between Division I, Division II, Division III levels? What's the difference, man?
Wow, great question. What is the difference between Division I, Division II, Division III? I'll be honest with you. Depending on what school it is, there's not a whole lot of difference when it comes to talent. It's just exposure and the level of, like we said earlier, approach and mentality to the game. There's a lot of guys that should have played Division I that just didn't have the right mentality. Like Trey said, they didn't have the right mentality. They weren't ready. They weren't prepared. So they had to take the next route and go Division II, but whether it be for grades, situation, whatever the case may be. But in Division I, Division III, when it comes to Division I, is the level of coaching and the level of the systems that they have in place. We talked about this before. When you talk about a system and programs like Duke, Maryland, Virginia Tech, like he went to, those programs have the facilities, they have the money, they have the resources. All of those things make the difference when it becomes Division II, Division III, Division I. And that's the difference. The resources, the mentality, the whole nine. When you talk about Division I, they have all of those things in place for you. But you have to be mentally prepared in order to play at that level, even if you are ready to play Division I. So that's the difference, in my opinion.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Mo, what you got? What you think?
My biggest thing with Division I, because I really didn't see too much D3, but I know Division I, Division II, one of the biggest things is facilities, money, because those players, that's a big thing. Because for me being out California and then coming to St. Aug, it was like night and day.
Night and day.
It was night and day, man. I mean, even from the cafeteria, we go all the way down to there, like it's because because it's no difference the talent wise. You know, it's
Right.
I feel like a lot of D2 players and D3 players, they're there because of grade or they're late bloomers.
Right.
A lot of D1s, they recruit, or let's face it, flat out ballers, or they see something in you. A lot of these D2, D3 players, they either late bloomers or they fell down there because of either academics, behavior, something like that. Because when I was at St. Aug, I played against probably one of the best guards I've seen in a minute. Dude named Flip Murray. He played at Shaw.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
And he got drafted.
Yeah,
He had a long career in the NBA.
Yes, he did.
And he was player of the year. So and then it was a lot other talent. You had before they moved up to D1, you had North Carolina Central. They had ballers there. Bowie State, they had ballers there. Like, so it's more the facilities and the mindset. It's the mindset of that, because a lot of these guys that's in D2, D3 either academically didn't get it done, or they was a late bloom. And that's when you see the late bloomers. When you get and a lot of times you get the late bloomers, what you find is your Damian Lillards, your what's the guy, CJ McCullers, like those type guys.
For real, now the playing field is evening out. It's a lot of things that goes in. There's a lot of components that goes into D1, D2, D3.
Okay.
Now let's say D1 players, a lot of them, just like the draft, you draft people based on their upsize, their potential, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what majority recruiters will see and recruit kids for. On the D1 level, from the physicality of the game, like let's say he a little older than us, but he probably seen, like let's say the older players, you have, your Len Biases, your Michael Jordans, your James Worthies. These guys went to a D1, but guess what? Scottie Pippen went to a D2, right?
He went to an NIA.
Right.
NIA.
Not because
him and Dennis Rodman.
Not because he wasn't good enough. You know what the main thing played? Being seen, and his development. In this game, if you're developing every year, you're ahead of the curve. I always tell my son that. If you have the same game as last year, somebody just passed you. Yep. It's how it goes.
Yep.
At a point in my life, I can remember I wasn't as good as everybody else. You know what I said? It's all said and done, I'm going to be past them. And I work my tail off. And that's how it happens. Now with D1, D2, D3 thing is now, there's a lot of kids playing. So guess what? People going to get missed. They ain't going to get seen because there's so many people. You gotta take this into understanding to know you can't see everybody. Kentucky can't see everybody. UConn can't see everybody. And guess what? There's gonna be some kids that go to a mid-major that has regular talent. But guess what happens in school? They get better. They develop. And guess what? They're an NBA player after 2-3 years. That's the way it goes. There's no logistics to this thing, man. You get out what you put in. And certain players put in at the right time, and certain players don't. That's how we see so many D1 players not living up to what they expected. Because to be put on that pedestal at that age, we all been that age. Could we handle it? If we're saying you're first team All-American, McDonald's, and you go to school, can you handle it? To keep coming to practice, busting your tail, getting better, staying in the gym. Well, all these things that happen if you were in that position. I always say everybody's story is different. Your story is not going to be like nobody else's. But the playing field is evening out because a lot of kids going to get missed. The D1s can't see everybody. And everybody ain't going to be in their radar at that developmental stage. Remember,
that's how John Morant. That's how John Morant got found. John Morant got found because the dude Murray State was there to see another player, and the recruiter went to the wrong gym, and John Morant was in there playing. And that's how he found John Morant.
But even before that, that ain't really the thing. Is John Morant played with Zion, Mo? He was on one of the best.
But he wasn't getting recruited though.
He was recruited. He went where he was wanted.
Listen,
where he was wanted,
not
where he wanted to go. There's a difference. And that's what a lot of kids make a mistake. You go where you're wanted. You don't go where you want to go. You go where you're wanted. You go where you're wanted. A lot of people make that mistake. They're going to make that mistake because of the TV.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying? Because of ESPN. Go where you're wanted. And John Morant chose Murray State, Mo. He had bigger D1s. He had like 6 of them that wanted him. He went to Murray State because his father told him, go where they want you, not where you want to go. They can put the ball in your hands.
That's good.
The more comfortable you are as a player, the better you play. Simple. There's no more than that.
Also,
comfortability.
He will
give you growth. It'll give you room to.
That's why I said he was a late bloomer.
Plus, he was loyal.
Not developmental. Late bloomers is Joel Embiid, the Greek. These guys ain't played basketball till they was 15, 16 years old. That's a late bloomer.
You could
only had 2 years to become a pro. That's amazing.
Hey, if you're 6'11", Coach Trey, what you got?
You go ahead, Bruce.
Coach Trey, what you got?
Hey, listen. Hey, they have hit it all. The only thing I want to add, which has already been said, is really at the end of the day, that do-re-mi, that money is really what separates D1, D2, D3. Is that dollar bill.
It always has.
That
what else is separated?
I mean, I ain't gotta add no more. They said it all.
They killed that.
Hey Trey, you know what else is separated?
Yep.
The top black players going to HBCUs.
Yes, that's true.
Imagine that in the last 10 years, all the top players been going to HBCUs. ESPN would have been at their door.
Very true.
The TV programs would have been at their door.
That's so true.
We need to do this. We need to do that. That's what's going to change everything.
Wow.
HBCUs, get all the top players. I mean,
absolutely.
Just 20 kids out of the top 100. It's over.
I agree.
It's over.
You got more and more going too.
Football and basketball.
Everything
changes.
It's shifting back.
20 kids out of the top 100.
Is that how it was? Wasn't it, Trey?
What?
That they go to HBCUs instead of regular D1s.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, people's strength of schedule and all that stuff will change. People start playing St. Albans, Shaw, in North Carolina Central, North Carolina A&T. Those games will be on more schedules because they have top players. Man, I'm telling you, we have the power to control it. If that happens,
he just went ahead and A&T.
Huh? Bruce played Duke.
Yeah, Bruce. I was at the game.
I'm about to say Bruce played Duke.
Yeah,
in 30 seconds.
And dogged them. Bruce had a hell of a game when he played Duke. Played really well against Duke. And Bruce played with one of the little guard. Bruce had a nice guard that played on his team. I can't remember the guy named little short guy.
JJ Miller.
Yeah, JJ Miller.
Yeah.
This the last thing. This the last thing I'm gonna leave everybody with. And the Last Dance, man, it really tapped into it because I always say this. Michael Jordan flu game, right? We all look at, man, Mike still had 30, 38 with the flu, food poisoning, whatever it may be. You know what I looked at? Mike kept pushing himself. And guess what happened? He found something that he didn't know was there. That's all that sums it up. Anybody, any athlete, anybody. If you're going through something, if you're developing, if you keep digging, you keep pushing, you're going to open up new doorways that you know you didn't have. It happens because I remember moments in my life, even playing, where I was dead tired and I kept digging. And guess what happened? Oh, man. Yeah, I didn't know it was there. Keep pushing, man. Keep going.
That's cool.
There's something there that needs to be revealed in you. It's something there that needs to be revealed in you. It all goes, man. I love y'all. Appreciate this, man. Always to debate and talk, especially us, man. We need to push it. It has to be pushed.
That's good.
We hold the power, y'all. We hold the power, man. We got to push us. We got to support us in every aspect. And I don't want people to get caught up in the black-white thing. I want you to get caught up in pro-black, just pushing us. Because it's been the opposite way for so long, and it looks as it's normal. You get what I'm saying? In every aspect of the game. GMs. You get what I'm saying? Assistant coaches. It's not no different, man. Push us. Love us, man. It's up to us.
And,
love y'all, man.
I would, I guess, I would say for my closing will be the same way, the same mentality that you apply to be great on the basketball court. You need to apply that to life skills, because you got to, let's face it, man. Everybody's not going to play overseas. Everybody not going to play in the NBA. But everybody could be a doctor. Everybody could be a lawyer. Everybody could be a scientist. Like these are achievable things and that's the thing that I want to push the most to the youth, to everybody that's watching this, all the kids, is that basketball and sports is not the only ticket out of it.
That's good.
That just the actors. I always say sports is the ultimate life teacher, because what it does is it teaches you how to, and you can apply that to your everyday life. If you're in the office setting, you can take basketball, working in a team setting, adversity, all these transfer over to life skills. So I always say, man, apply what you, if I'm a big component, and what you do the most is what you do the best. And I live by that, man. What you do the most is what you do the best. So if you go to the gym and you shoot 1,000 jump shots, you're gonna be a good jump shooter. If you go to the gym and you dribble 100 times, you're gonna be the best. You're gonna have the best hands. But if you go to the library and you study for an hour every single day on something different, you're gonna be a hell of a scholar. So what you do the most is what you do the best.
That's good. Coach Bruce,
yes, sir.
They're closing.
Winning and losing, baby.
Coach Bruce,
go hand in hand.
Yeah, everybody.
Coach Trey, man, nice
everybody
meeting you,
summed
man.
everything
First
up.
time, man. Nice meeting you, man. You be blessed in all your endeavors, your coaching, everything.
Likewise
up,
to
man.
you, brother.
Forward. Always, man. A pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Bruce, pleasure, man. Brother.
Yes,
Coach
sir.
Jenkins,
yes, sir.
Yes,
a
sir.
pleasure,
Eric.
man.
Appreciate you, brother.
It is.
Coach Bruce, what you got?
Yeah, everybody summed everything up. And one thing that's so beautiful about these podcasts is that you're able not to only speak on your experiences, but you're also able to learn from other people. So I just learned a lot of every experiences that Mo went through, Eric Branham, Coach Trey, and of course you, Coach James. And that's the biggest thing that I've come to learn in this situation and this experience with training and coaching, is that you got to keep learning. And we talked about academics. If you want to be a good trainer or a good coach, you have to keep studying, you have to keep learning, and you can't get to a place where you think that you've made it. That's when you get to a place where you're gonna go on a downhill slope. You gotta learn to listen, stay humble, and just keep learning from your kids, your parents, all the experiences that you go through this journey. So that's all I would have to say, is that just keep learning, stay humble.
Coach Trey, can you pray us out?
Yeah, without a doubt. Eternal God, our Father, we thank you once again, God, for your grace and for your mercy, God. We thank you for each and every person on the line. We thank you for ears have heard, eyes have seen, God. And we pray, God, that at the end of the day, you just get all glory, honor, and praise in everything that we say. We lift up Coach James to you as he leads this podcast. We pray, God, that until we meet again, you'll never leave our presence. In Jesus' name we do pray. Amen.
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 Hey, Trey.
Yes, sir.
I know you're a father.
Without a doubt.
Bruce, text him the father up info because I need to get him on one interview. All right.
Got it.
Appreciate y'all.
Bruce gonna send you the Instagram information. The follow. Yeah, father
all
up
right,
stuff.
sir.
But
I
it's a lot of
appreciate
good
that.
things, man. Always,
Fantastic.
man.
Y'all have a good night.
All right,
You
Mo.
too.
All right, y'all.
Okay,
Appreciate y'all.
All right, likewise.